I'm Kim Berry, music director and midday host here at KUVO. Have the honor of speaking with a hometown hero, so to speak, Mr. Rico Jones. You have been performing with some incredible people in just the last year alone. How did you become involved first with Rodney Whitaker's All-Star Band?
Rodney Whitaker, will be the first time we're performing together,
Hmm.
and I'm really excited for this opportunity. It was actually something like about uniquely because of the Denver Jazz Festival. So
Hmm.
this is wonderful. I've been in the sort of a small community, so I've been around folks. Um, Rodney Whitaker visited Denver School of the Arts when I was about 14 years old, so I got to
Wow.
meet him there. And since then, I have come to know, many musicians who studied under him in Michigan. So it'll be a full circle moment there.
Yeah, Michigan. You know that's my home state. I'm amazed at what they're doing at Michigan State University. That's a beautiful thing. It's incredible. Like I said earlier, this has really been a banner year for you. First, with the release of your critically acclaimed CD, Bloodlines, your first CD, received 4 stars and Downbeat, and also was included in one of the top recordings of 2025. I think that's a lot to absorb just within a year alone, like putting out your very first recording, which was very ambitious, like with the suite, and it was very ambitious. And that's your first recording. So, how are you taking all this in? How are you absorbing it?
I'm just really grateful. The whole time I've developed as a musician, I've had my parents behind me, great artists supporting me
Hmm.
and guiding me and trying to show me how to do things and how not to do things, what I need to work on. And it's the same sort of thing with the new album. That was because of a great couple, Jimmy and Dina. They were a nonprofit record label called Giant Step Arts,
Hmm.
and they wanted to give me an opportunity. So I did the best I could and was able to work with some really great musicians on the record also.
Absolutely. Are you writing anything for the next recording? Do you plan to do anything soon, recording wise?
I have two new projects planned. Um, One is a collaboration with the young trumpeter Dave Adewumi.
Hmm.
He's also on Giant Step Arts. So we have a bunch of new music. We actually just performed it for a time the night before last at a jazz club in Manhattan called Close Up.
Mm.
So we plan to do that with our peers. We're still working the band out, but we pretty much have it dialed in. And my next solo project, I have all the music composed for that, and I'm working closely with a trumpeter by the name of Jason Palmer on that.
Hmm.
We're going to come together and figure out what kind of rhythm section we want to put together for that.
You know, I was just thinking earlier about mentors, and this is just, we've taken quite a hit this year, losing people like the loss of Ken Walker, for example. Can you tell us how he influenced you and what he meant to you? I know he was very close to your heart.
Life has a funny way of revealing things, or I guess, they say hindsight is 2020. So you really saw these connections come to fruition over time. And, Ken was a person who planted seeds very early on in my musical life that really expanded in some profound ways to me, at least. He was one of my very first teachers through this program called CCJA, which
Hmm.
was founded by Paul Romaine and Chris Romaine, two other great, you know, Colorado music icons, I would say. But I was in an ensemble with Ken Walker, and from the start, he was both young artists to music by Gene Ammons and Sonny Stitt.
Ooh.
I mean, that profoundly affected the way I conceptualize playing. I mean, to
Hmm.
this day, I listen to the music that he showed me. Another artist he uh, brought to my attention was Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. And, since then, I mean, of course, I've listened to those records a lot, and I've been able to work with a lot of jazz messengers. And another person that came up to my attention was Bob Watson. And we were playing his music back when I was in middle school and
Hmm.
early high school years. And Circle, Bobby is a great mentor to me, a teacher and a friend, and
Hmm.
I've had the opportunity to do a number of performances with him. It's funny, we tend to cross paths here and there, and anytime we cross paths, he has me come up and play with his band. Very gracious, of course.
Hmm.
Bobby's been a great influence on me, and like I said, it's just strange to me because Ken was the one who planted all those seeds. And there's another experience I had, if I could keep going
Sure,
about
go ahead.
campus.
Hmm.
You know, I had an experience. There's a great guitar player in Colorado by the name of Marcus Furillo, and he's always very welcoming to me. He invited me. He said, "Hey, I'm playing down at this place that has all these ironwork sculptures.
Hmm.
Come and hang." So my parents brought me. I was
Hmm.
about 13 or 14,
Hmm.
and Ken was playing. So I hung out the whole time, and they let me with the band. And afterwards, Ken offered to give me a ride home. So we're driving. We stop in front of my house, and says, you really need to learn the changes to these songs.
Oh.
You can't, you can't, you can't just freestyle and not know what you're doing. So okay, I was really thinking about it. Took it, but he was right because at that time I really hadn't started to commit things to memory. He was honest.
Hmm.
He didn't hold back, but it wasn't in a negative way. It was just being honest,
Hmm.
demanding me to reach a higher level.
You know, I think it's just incredibly beautiful the way your parents have supported you throughout this. It was my pleasure to meet them too when you were here last year. Can you speak to that? Because that's so important to have your parents, especially with something like, being a jazz musician. Um, can you speak to that in terms of the support of your mom and your dad?
It's funny you mention that because I was just on tour in California for a couple weeks, playing Sylvia Cuenca and Essie Essie,
Hmm.
and a great piano player out there, Matt Clark,
Hmm. I've heard of
really
them, yeah.
amazing trumpet player there.
Hmm.
Joel Berman,
Hmm.
amazing trumpet player out there. Um, but I was out there for about 2 weeks, and my parents surprised me by coming out
Oh, that's
for a
sweet.
weekend.
That's wonderful.
So it was wonderful spending time with them. But that's just the kind of it's the way they are. They are very very giving.
Hmm.
Um, I feel as though they spoiled me actually, but they held me to a high standard. They wouldn't if they thought something wasn't right, they would let me know, whether it was about my academics or the way I conduct myself or present myself.
Hmm.
They were always trying to challenge me to be the best I could be. And when I expressed interest in something or put effort in something, they were just all 100%. And to this day, they're like that. So I can't thank them enough. I mean, everything I've enjoyed in this life, I owe to them,
Hmm.
really.
How's living in New York City, which of course is the jazz capital of the world, how's that influenced your performance or your writing?
Definitely. It definitely has. I mean, I think what makes this place unique is number one, your culture and the history of the music that's
Hmm.
here, and you still have many of the uh, great living legends, or who came to be legends because they worked so closely with some of the founding
Hmm.
figures in this music. So that's left a really you know deep impact on the way I've began to view the music. I mean, it just it has a high level of precision and mastery. The other component to it is that you have so many great musicians come from everywhere in the world. So
Hmm.
any given night, you might see a random person you've never heard of or never seen before, and
Hmm.
they'll just really inspire you and humble you. So the bar is high here. I'm
Very
happy to live
high.
in Sugar Hill, Harlem.
Oh man,
So
beautiful.
it yeah, I feel closely connected to the history of the music. Some of my neighbors around here are Jeremy Pelt,
Wow. Okay.
Kendrick Scott, um, Philip Harper,
Hmm.
Victor Lewis. I know Reggie Workman lives around here too.
Hmm.
So I'm a really great company. Also, the great tenor saxophonist Bill Saxon.
I'm sorry,
Um,
you broke up for a second. The tenor saxophonist who now?
Bill Saxton
Oh
is
yeah.
his name.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
he's the man.
What are some of the things or practices that keep you mentally, physically, and spiritually intact? Because that's just such a tough environment to be in and to create in, and you've got to get gigs. I mean, that's wow.
It's difficult. It's difficult. One thing I have to practice doing, and it's continual practice. But when I see my peers doing well, just stopping and thinking, how grateful I am to be surrounded by people who are passionate about the thing I'm passionate about.
Hmm.
Seeing people succeed at their craft, looking at the music community in a really positive way and being great. Um, the other thing I try to do is just really remain humble as possible in the way that I present the music. So, in other words, in New York City, I've played everywhere from Dizzy's to
Hmm.
the Blue Note.
Yeah.
But I also play. I play in the subway and I play on the street and I
Wow.
park, and I'm proud of that.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that because I just love to play,
Hmm.
and I think that for me, it's not about demanding a certain uh, amount of money or putting a number on what. In other words, what I'm here to do is share my gifts with the community and practice my craft.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm proud to play music wherever I can with musicians who are passionate too.
That's a
Doesn't
beautiful
matter.
thing. It really is a beautiful thing. 2026 is John Coltrane's centennial. Personally, John Coltrane is somebody who's very, very close to my heart. Having, uh, excuse me, having lived in Philadelphia, where he came to live after he lived in, was it North Carolina? I was extremely close to the cousin Mary Alexander. So I know what a impact, and I'm not a musician, that he has had on my life. How has Train influenced you musically and personally, if he has?
Profoundly, absolutely profoundly. He was one of the very first musicians that really led me to fall in love with music.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, first I had, long story short, but I had Frank Sinatra and Louis Armstrong
Hmm.
and Charlie Parker. I mean, those were some first influences. But when I heard John Coltrane, um, I had no idea what he was saying on the horn, but just connected with me on a emotional and visceral level. It was John Coltrane live at Carnegie Hall
Mm.
uh, with the Monk,
Hmm.
you know. So that record really affected me, and then I just dove into any and everything I could find of Coltrane.
Yeah.
Everything from the stuff in the '50s all the way through to the late period music, and this is when I was 14, 15 years old,
Wow.
listening to all that music.
Wow.
What what really resonated with me and was inspiring for me was uh, the way he presented faith music. Because that was the way I was brought up with faith in my life, going to church, having practice in prayer,
Hmm.
and that just gave me the confidence to have that be a part of my music as well. And that resonated with me. That music is spiritual practice and it's sacred practice.
We're really looking forward to you coming back home again for the Denver Jazz Fest on Wednesday, April 8th. You're performing at Dazzle with the Rodney Whitaker All Stars. Shows at 6 and 8:30 p.m. And then again on Friday, April 10th, you're co-leading a quintet with Hugh Reagan, Wise Ones. And that's also a Dazzle, which shows at 7 o'clock and 9:30 p.m. Thank you so much for your time, Rico.
My pleasure.
You have
Thank you.
thank you. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.